days back, somebody sent a message asking me to explain the difference between emphatic and reflexive pronoun. I was not surprised at all because the two pronouns, the two sets, or the two groups that we have on the board, they often confuse. I also expect that one day somebody will ask me a question about the difference between relative and interrogative pronouns. Now, why does this confuse, or why do they confuse? Okay, now, emphatic pronoun. If you talk about the examples under this emphatic pronoun, you will see things like herself, himself, myself, themselves, etc. These are the examples you see under this. Now, if you go to check for the examples of reflexive pronouns, the same examples, the same set of examples are what you're going to see. Now, the question that people would ask, how then do I know? Let us say, for instance, that I happen to see myself in the middle of a sentence. How do I know if it is functioning as an emphatic pronoun or functioning as a reflexive pronoun? This is what we want to talk about now. Okay, when you say emphatic pronoun, what does it mean? This is a word that shows emphasis. And what do you mean by emphasis? Emphasis means that this is where we want your attention to be. At times you hear somebody say something like, I want to lay more emphasis on this, meaning I want to bring your attention particularly to this. I want you to focus on this. There are situations where you're talking to somebody and you are emphasizing on a particular word. Okay, go into the kitchen, get me the green plate. And as the person is leaving, you repeat, the green one, the one painted green. What are you doing there? You are emphasizing on that green, on the feature of the plate that the person is expected to bring. This is emphasis. When you talk about emphasis, this is where you want this person to focus on. Pay attention to this particular thing I am talking about. This is emphasis. Now, if you talk about emphatic pronoun, what does it mean? There are situations where you see these words used, and they are used in a way that anybody that comes across that sentence, anybody that sees it should know that what you mean here is that this thing was done by this person, that this is what you are talking about. Let me use an illustration here. Imagine that you ask somebody, say a friend, maybe a friend of yours, you asked him to buy you a book, for instance. Go to the market, buy me a dictionary. Let me use that. Go to the market and buy me a dictionary. And then, this your friend, you sent him to buy the dictionary because maybe at that particular time he was in the market. It is possible that as at the time you called him, he was not at a place where they sell books. Maybe he was not close to a bookshop where you asked him to buy that book. And this person you asked to buy you a book calls another person, then asking him to get him a dictionary. At the end of the whole day, your friend brings you a dictionary. What will he tell you? Will he tell you, this is a dictionary, my friend bought it for me? No. You asked him to get you a dictionary and he got it. I have bought you the dictionary. Full stop. I have bought you the dictionary is different from I bought you the dictionary myself. This time around, myself comes in. What I'm trying to say here, when you make use of any of these as an emphatic pronoun, what it tries to state is that the particular action you are talking about was done by a particular person. I want you to focus on this. I want you to get to understand this, that this action was done by me. Maybe somebody might just come and say, I wrote that book. The person that said he wrote that book, it is possible that that book was ghostwritten. Maybe the book was written by somebody else and he was allowed to publish it using his name. Of course, he will tell anybody he wrote it. But the moment he says, I wrote that book myself, it is now different from just saying, I wrote the book. Yes, the both of them might be communicating the same thing, but I want you to understand that when you add myself to it, there is something that the person wants you to focus on. The person wants you to know that this action was done by him and no other person. Now, whenever any of these is used in a way that it makes you to understand that that particular action was done by this person and no other person. It is emphatic. Take for instance, when you have something like the priest spoke to him. The priest spoke to him. Let's have it this way. You might have something like this. The priest spoke to him. You might have something like these two sentences are not the same. When somebody says the priest spoke to him, it won't be wrong if you find out. It won't make this sentence wrong when you later find out that the priest actually sent somebody to talk to him. Yes. Once the person gets there and says, the priest said I should tell you this, the priest has spoken. Now, but the priest spoke through somebody. Therefore, it is different from when you say the priest himself. The moment you add this, there is an emphasis there. The priest himself, meaning the priest did not set somebody. The priest did not speak to him through anybody. The priest spoke to him himself. That is, the priest himself spoke to him. That is emphasis. And when would you say it is reflexive? Now, it is reflexive at that point when it is not showing emphasis but doing something else. And what is that something else that it might be doing? That situation when the word is trying to bring back the action of a subject or the action of a person or a thing back to that person. When it tries to tell you that the action performed by this person affects the same person that performed the action. I don't know if you get that. Okay, let us use an illustration here. When you have the child injured himself. This verb here, injured. There is a subject, a performer of an action here. There is the action. Ordinarily, this action is supposed to affect an object. But in a situation where himself, myself, themselves, any of these is used here after the action performed, telling you that the action of the subject or the performer comes back. That action is still on the performer and not on any other person. When it is used this way, that is when that pronoun is said to be reflexive. That action performed comes back to the person that performs it. Or the action of the person is still on that person. I don't know if I will have some other examples to give. The child injured himself. When you say, he scratched himself. He killed himself. He wanted to do this but stopped himself. He didn't stop somebody else, he stopped himself. That is the action performed by a person, but yet it's on that same person. That is when it is reflexive. I believe this is clear. If it is not, don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section or through a message, and maybe I will explain it to you particularly.